Bless all the paths our feet walk to be free. Bless all the paths our feet walk to be free.
So, we put up the first little thing because I want everybody to know what I'm talking about. Remember those?
Yes.
You know, I went all around Cocoa yesterday trying to find those and couldn't.
I have one.
One. One. Because I was going to let y'all have this experience this morning, and I thought, well, they probably all had it anyway. So the story goes like this. John was invited to his third grade daughter's class. And he was going to use one of these Chinese finger puzzles to illustrate a point that he wanted to make to the kids. And so his daughter got up front to do the demonstration, and he said to the kids, I wonder what lesson we could learn from the Chinese finger puzzle. And his daughter stuck her fingers in the puzzle, and all the other kids did the same thing. And then he went on to say to the class, the harder you pull, the tighter the woven tube becomes. In order to escape, you have to relax. But the children couldn't hear him explain that part over their squeals and screams of panic because their fingers were stuck in the Chinese finger puzzle. And this chaos went on for several really long minutes until all the children were freed from this little torture chamber. And I know we can all imagine that in our heads because we've all played with these. And I remember being about that age when my dad brought one of those things home, and I was completely freaked out. Stuck my fingers in, and you know, isn't it amazing how once we get into that state of that we can't think anymore about the simple things that can make it all better, and how'd you get them in there in the first place? And I mean, it's a piece of little woven thing. It's not all of a sudden choking you, but your fingers are stuck, and we're mostly stuck. You know, we laugh at this and we can imagine it, but the same thing happens in our lives every single day. We come up against a problem, we come up against something that we believed we've stumbled upon, and it's not comfortable, and we want to pull away, and we want to tighten up, and we do what we think is reasonable, because pulling your fingers out of those things seems reasonable. And we do what seems rational, and we use our will, and the harder we squeeze, the harder we squeeze back. And the truth of it is, all we really needed to do was relax. Relax and keep it simple. Spirit is urging us to relax and keep it simple all the time. In ancient India, there were these two disciples who were sort of bragging over the talents of their individual gurus. And the one says, my guru is so wonderful, he can do all kinds of miracles. He can stand on this side of the river with the easel and paintbrush on that side of the river and paint a picture. When he meditates, he levitates up above the ground, and when he closes his palms and opens them, he materializes precious gems. What kind of miracles can your guru perform? And the second disciple said, well, when my master's tired, he sleeps, and when he's hungry, he eats. Okay, you might be thinking, what kind of miracles are those? Sleeping and eating. We can all do those things. We can all free ourselves from the Chinese finger puzzle too. We can all relax and free ourselves from the things that life brings us too. But are we good at it? Are we good at knowing when to do it? Are we good at responding to the natural call of life at the natural right time that life is calling? It isn't that he eats and sleeps. It's that he knows how to respond to life as life is calling. He also knows how to feel happy when he feels happy, and how to feel bad when he feels bad. And not to cover it up, and not pretend that everything's fine, and complicate things by feeling bad about feeling bad. my specialty. Just to let you know, if you've been around lately, you'll know. Feel bad about feeling bad. Mel says to me, she says, you know, you just feel good and then you make yourself feel bad. I'm like, shh. You didn't have to say that, did you? I know. It takes courage to keep it simple. We have to be courageous enough to face the true nature and magnitude of the suffering that's happening inside of us. Now, the simple part is we have to do this without guilt. We have to do it with dedication. We have to do it with willingness. We have to be willing to strip away all the pretense so that we can begin to see what's really happening in our lives. And the faster we can relax and the simpler we can keep it, the sooner we can heal and move forward. A few months ago, I resigned my position here. It was a very scary move for me to make, but it was simple. Now, I'm telling you this because I don't want you to confuse simple with easy. It wasn't easy, but it was simple. All the dominoes, you know, everything was in place, it was exactly like it should be, and all I had to do was the simple right thing, finally. And keep reminding myself that simple, living my life simply, giving my life to Spirit simply, did not mean it had to feel easy. In the West, we have a success model called the stick. Okay, we'll just use any old thing. Put your arm up, whatever, the stick. And that's exactly the success model that we mostly use in this country. It's vertical climb to the top. Life is one step after the other, and all we need to do is keep doing the right thing, keep being smart, keep staying focused, keep not letting anything get in our way, keep making the right choices, keep choosing not to nurture ourselves, but to play the role so that we can keep moving up the stick. And what we're doing in that model is actually setting ourselves up against the natural flow of the universe. We are actually setting our lives up to be a struggle, to be difficult, to be hard, to be a failure. Because we're not in the flow of the human process. So, somebody developed another model called the I Ching. And it was developed in China about 300 years ago, and it's developed in a spiral. So let's look at the spiral idea. Just keep that in mind as I talk. Because what we know is, and we don't have any trouble with this, we don't have any trouble with the seasons change, and that's where it came from. They started looking at the world. How does the world work so perfectly around us, and yet we're so constantly in this big mess? And this is the key, and this is the part that is just, I can't get it out of my mind, these exact words. When a season or a stage reaches its peak, it turns into its opposite. When a stage in your life reaches its peak and you don't go on, it turns into its opposite. It turns into its opposite anyway. But the problem is, when things die, we don't want to let them go. We want to keep trying to get them back. We want to keep trying to recreate them. We keep wanting to grab onto what isn't there anymore because it's not supposed to be, because it doesn't work anymore, because it's not part of your journey anymore, blah, 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 blah. But we don't want it to be that way. So we know fall, fall dies and then winter comes and there's this rebirth and spring and summer, and it's just simple. We see it all around us all the time. And at the same time, as our life patterns die and want to be reborn, we don't want to let them die and be reborn. We want to hang on to them. And the difficult for human beings, the most difficult and profound genius of this spiral model Because one of the things you'll see about the spiral model is, hopefully I can get back there, is here's the low spot and there's the high spot, all in the same spiral. Here's the downside and here's the upside, all in the same spiral. And when we start, our world keeps expanding and it keeps getting bigger and it keeps getting stronger, and all based on our learning, all based on our experiences, all based on the willingness of our journey. And guess what? In every spiral, there's a downside. And then back up to the peak, back up to the light. Well, the stick model works so well for us because we don't like the downside idea. And if you've only gone up a couple inches on the stick and you never fall below that, at least you can go, I did this. In the spiral, you can be guaranteed you're going to go back to the downside. But that is how life was designed, not by the stick model. So, one of the most profound things about this is that we learn to be willing to accept all of it, the entire journey, the downside, the upside, the days that feel like decay, the days that feel like sunlight, the days that feel like growth, the days that have no movement at all. All of it is necessary for the expanding spiral journey that we're on, this life. We don't question that the rest of the world works that way. We just question that ours should work that way. And you notice that our lives, we can't find our lives just going in a circle, because going in a circle would just be repeating, well, yes, we can occasionally. But Spirit has a lovely way of moving us. But occasionally, yes, we do. Just keep going around a circle. But that's not how life goes. Life continues to progress us in this ever-expanding thing that's fueled by the events of our lives. And so when we free ourselves from the need to protect what was up there at the peak, what we actually do is we set ourselves free, because at some point in life, you were just clear back here. Isn't it sad how clear back here, the down was so much smaller? And then now the higher the peak, the down is so much harder to deal with than it was when it was back here and you didn't really have all that much. We were younger. That's the you had more energy. You could deal with it easier. You're high more often. So our challenges, our life moves forward, not despite our challenges, but including our challenges. Rather than the stick model where we just believe we just must go and we must not have those challenges, which by the way is a whole theology. I think we know it. The truth of it is, it's going to be like this. You can't avoid it. You cannot avoid it. So go for all the theology you want. It ain't going to be like that. It's going to be like this. So we actually can succeed because we keep it simple, because we keep understanding that everything is there because it's supposed to be. Nothing's in our way, everything is for our way. When we allow our humanness to be lived out without pretending and judgment and disappointments, and when we can loosen the grip on the illusion that we're still in control, and when we can understand that we never get back what's been lost. Ever. We never get back what's been lost. Never. We will never be who we will never be. We will never go where we will never go. We will never find what we think we might. But we can have a hell of a time in the life we have when we can let go of all of that stuff that we think is what keeps us going up the stick. And we start realizing that there's the high moments and the low moments, and they're amazing and they're beautiful. And in the high moments, the great thing that happens is we see God. And it helps us remember and keep hope. That when we go around in the low moment again, we know that it's there. And there will be another high moment. So, is this easy? No. But it's simple. It's very simple. And when you think you've got it, don't get too excited. Saints get it. Be optimistic, but meh. And know that in this whole entire journey, don't set yourself up. It's never going to happen to me again. I'm so much more spiritual. I'm so much smarter. I handle things so much better. Because guess what? Slap in the face. Here it comes. What you haven't dealt with, what you didn't know, what you did overlook, what you stuffed way down deep. This is a journey of life, an amazing adventure of an experience. And there are times when that experience is going to feel like you've been asked to march off a cliff. And you will have to have faith that grace will catch you. And you'll ask yourself every day, is that true? Is it going to catch me? And we can easily be fooled. We can easily be fooled into feeling really, really certain. And if you're feeling really, really certain about how the crappy thing in your life is going to turn out, you still think you're in control. Let go. You don't have any idea. To be fully alive means we are going to fall down. It means we're going to get back up. It means we're going to experience the dark and the light and dread and awe. And just when we think we're good, we're not. Just when we think we're lost, we're found. We have to be willing to embrace the whole range of our feelings. So there were these two little caterpillars. Crawling along in the grass, nice sunny day, beautiful weather. And they looked up, and there goes a butterfly. One of the caterpillars nudged the other one and says, "You couldn't get me up in one of those things for $1 million." Resemble anything you ever heard yourself say about your life? That ain't never going to happen to me. Well, look out. Silly us. Silly us, imagining that we are in control and that our resistance to something will keep it from happening. Silly us to think our prayers will keep it from happening. Silly us to think that we know our soul journey better than our soul knows our journey, and we're going to direct the ship. Silly us. But rather, our lives are created out of chaos. Scott? They're created from being willing to falling into the deep mystery, from wrestling with our limitations, from taking life just as it comes. The fact that we don't constantly feel on top, I think that's one of our greatest downfalls, is the way we feel when we're not. The blame and judgment we put on ourselves. Why couldn't I stay there? Why can't I keep that? Why can't I be happy all the time? Why can't I see past this? Why can't I just, because I was for a day, I was for a week, I was for 5 minutes. Why can't I just keep it? You can't keep it because it's not meant to be kept. This is a human journey. Call it spiritual all you want. These bodies, three-dimensional human stuff. We can't escape that as long as we're in them. Joseph Campbell was telling someone one of his favorite parts about a King Arthur story where King Arthur sends all the knights of the Round Table out into the woods to find something. And as they go out into the woods for their own honor, the reasons of their own honor, they go separately into their own entrance into the woods, into their own dark place where there's no path. And he goes on, as he's talking to this reporter, it's a television interview, goes on to explain, now, if there's a way or a path, it's someone else's way. You know, we always thank those people who went before us. Not so that we can follow them, but so that we know it can be done. He goes on to say, what is unknown is the fulfillment of your own life, the likes of which have never existed on earth. And you are the only one who can do it. People can give you all the clues they want about how to fall down and about how to stand up. But when to fall down and when to stand up and when you're falling and when you're standing, you're the only one that can know that. Once upon a time, sorry about this mistake. Once upon a time, and I was going to say something I believed, and I realized what came out of my mouth was I believed all kinds of things. But I believe that the spiritual journey was a journey to find inner peace and oneness. And as much as I still resist that isn't true for me, I have learned that in order to achieve anything close to that, I have to be willing to jump into a place of the void. Let's put the void up. See how we definitely get what the spiral looks like. There you go. That is your future. Are you willing to accept the mission? That is your future. We have to leap into it, not just once either. That dark night of the soul thing, you're only going to have it happen one time? Oh, please. Why do you think that book keeps becoming a bestseller? Why do you think people write more of them? Because it happens over and over and over again. And there's nothing wrong with us because it happens. We have to be willing to go floating painfully into the dark night, to live with a lot of chaos, to be disapproved of by our friends, by the people who love us. I have to be willing to accept the depth of my own craziness, my weakness, my uncertainty, and absolutely, if you've been hanging around with me lately, my very worst behaviors. I thought they would never come back. And sometimes I'm able to hold on to my faith and believe that someday, sooner or later, all this wonderful peace and serenity and inner stuff I've been looking for is going to happen. And I got that it'll be happening someday for sure. But I'm hoping it happens while I'm still alive. Some days I feel like I belong in this world. And some days I see the light and I feel the peace and I experience the joy. But I have to admit that I've discovered something that I didn't want to know. And this is it. So long as I am fully alive, I will not just leap into the abyss once, but over and over. The truth is that spiritual life takes place over the edge. If you hope, as I do, to aspire to a greatness of spirit, there can be no safety in our choices. We must follow our hearts above all else, discovering how strict a taskmaster our spirit can really be. When we play it safe, we simply stand back and look at our dreams. We go, wow, wouldn't that be great if I was that? Wouldn't it be nice if I was a great teacher? Wouldn't it be nice if I could travel the world? Wouldn't it be nice if I was just an inspired creator? But we don't take them out and we don't let them live because of all of what you guys will think. And all the people who love us. And all the people that have had us in a role. As mom, as this, as that, whatever it is. So, we keep those things hidden. We stay where we don't belong. We keep doing what we no longer should be doing. And Spirit urges us every day, let it go. Let it go. Let go of everything that takes away your life. Take some risks. If you are willing to let your greatness unfold, there is one way of not falling into the void. And that is to simply climb down into it. Bring your flashlight. Be prepared. Get ready. Figure it out. Don't make the universe keep constantly pushing you over the edge. And then you start crying. Why is this happening to me again? Well, we have to go deeper. We have to go deeper. And we have to be willing to go where we didn't want to. We have to be willing to do what we didn't want to. It sounds daunting. Jump in. So Joseph Campbell leaves us with his words of advice. He says, when the world seems to be falling apart, stick to your own trajectory. Don't let other people pull you off. Hang on to your own ideas and find kindred spirits. It's the rule of life. The part that I can attest to most strongly in all of this is find kindred spirits. When people don't want to hear what you have to say, they don't want to see what you're doing, find the people who do. You need them. And I offer this advice. Jump in with both feet while chanting, bring it on. Bring it on.
Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I'm through crying, I'm through waiting, I'm through everything new.